Hello everyone, this is Ryan Mallory for SharePlanner.com. Today is April 2nd, 2013. Do another session of LiveCharts. It's been about a week since I've done one, so I want to catch back up with you guys, give you some thoughts about the general market, go over some stocks on my watch list, and as well as just give you guys some general updates on my portfolio for those who have followed me into some of my trades. The S&P, I had been talking about this for the last week or two, where we have been trading in this consolidated this box basically, and we broke out of it on Thursday. We had the retracement. That didn't bother me too much because we had a very decisive break yesterday. Unless we followed through to the downside today, I would become a little bit more nervous, particularly if we would have broke below this 20-day moving average. We didn't. We've rebounded today, and now we're and now we're pushing up against this upper Bollinger Band. So let's focus on this Bollinger Band for a second, because we did sneak outside of it today, and then we pulled back right away. The Bollinger Band is very narrow just because of the fact that we have been consolidating over the last almost an entire month now, and we just broke out at the end of March, and because of that consolidation period, the Bollinger Bands have narrowed quite a bit. So there's not as much room for expansion at this point. So what you're likely to see, if this market is going to truly push higher in the days ahead, you're going to see the price sneak outside of that upper Bollinger Band, at which point I will probably start dramatically tightening the stops and getting a little bit more nervous about my long positions, because the S&P has a very difficult time sustaining price action outside of the upper Bollinger Band. So when that happens, you have to be very nervous, especially when the entire candle pattern, like if you can get like an entire candle body like this one here outside the upper Bollinger Band, that is a very bearish sign that oftentimes within the next 2 to 3 days leads to a broader market pullback, and that's what you want to avoid getting caught in. So right now, I think it's okay. We're not outside of it yet, and we don't, even if we, close above today's highs, that's not going to be an entire candle body. But once you start getting, entire candle bodies or most of a candle body outside of that upper Bollinger Band, that's when you want to really start tightening up on those stops. But once again, yeah, we're not at that point yet, but it's very, very much worth reminding you about. You can see too, it's stochastics. We are somewhat overbought, but if you look at what we did back in March, we stayed overbought the entire time. So really not a showstopper per se. But let's go ahead and look at some of these positions one of them that I picked up today, DISH, got in at like 38.23. It's slightly below that right now, but you can see some really strong consolidation and a desire to push higher outside of that. My stop is at 36.70, so there's a plenty of room to work with there without having to take a large loss on this position. And this 10-day moving average, that's probably something that you'll want to keep an eye on. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this Bollinger Band though, so we can see these charts a little bit clearer now. And also too, during the consolidation period, you can see where the volume was just next to non-existent. So that's another positive too. The volume on the surge higher was much stronger. BWLD, if you look at the 5 minutes on this thing, goodness, it's atrocious. The things has come from like almost 87.90 in the last hour and has gone down to 86.28. I am actually long on this one from 86.53, so slightly underwater after today's action. But overall, I mean, I still like this trade here. I mean, you can see why I got into it, because you had this huge double bottom over the past year, but you also had this significant line of resistance, which BWLD is not, threatening to break below that yet. If it did, I'd probably go ahead and close that trade out. So if it was to keep dropping today, 85.62 could be my line in the sand, but a lot of that too will depend on where does it close up by the end of today. It's been on a 3-day slide. That is more than what I expected out of it. So I'm going to be looking probably for this thing to bounce either going into this afternoon or sometime tomorrow. If not, that's going to be a hard one not to want to just go ahead and close out and lick the wounds on. Soda though, on the other hand, great looking chart. We had a little cup and handle pattern there, broke out yesterday and has continued the same today, up almost a full 2%. AAP, which we got small gains in, but nonetheless they're gains, has a little inverse head and shoulders pattern here, this being the left shoulder, the head the right shoulder, and now it's consolidating some. And at this point, you know, you want to see a strong push higher. We haven't got that yet. We got it initially, but now we've consolidated for 2 days. At this point, and it's almost forming like a bull flag like pattern. But now I want to see this thing just push higher for like 2 to 3 days, and then book those gains. And going through some of these watch lists of ours as well. VLO, this is on my short list, so I'll only do a couple of these. But VLO, you have a head and shoulders pattern, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and then you got the neckline, which I'll draw for you. So if this market, you know, happened to turn over here, and you could see where this would be a good stock to get shorted. And it's already down 6%, so that might be one that I would stay away from until it can consolidate some before the next leg down. And then the other one is FSL, is also part of our lazy trades, swing trades, long and short, double top. It's confirmed a breakdown, and now I would just wait to see if you can get in around 1432, 1433. So try to get in on a bounce higher, short that bounce, and try to maybe see if this thing will go as low as into the 1250s. You know, I don't know if I'm that daring of a person to, unless it all happened in one fell swoop. But if you know, I'd be thrilled with, you know, 1340 or so from a 1430 entry price. Now let's look at some of these longs too, because there are some pretty good ones here. Nuon kills me because I've been eyeballing this one for days and weeks now, and never pulled the trigger on it. I liked it back when it was actually around 1950, and you know, when it was breaking above that double bottom there, but did not pull the trigger. So woulda, coulda, shoulda. DISCK, this is one that I'm looking at, particularly if it gets above this 70-75 level. It's consolidating really nicely. It's not enough for me to want to get into right now. I still think that it could easily break down and push lower, so I don't see a clear edge in getting in right now. But once it clears that price level I just mentioned, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. NLS, I think that there's some potential here as well, as it's consolidating near the highs. I think you could probably make a strong case to get in right now, and maybe say, okay, if it drops below this, you know, 708 level, 709, then I would go ahead and get out. So that entry price would be, I think you could probably say 709 as your stop loss, and if it drops below that, you'd want to get out. So you're talking about a 35-cent stop loss on a $7 stock. So you know, a little bit less than 5%, a little bit more than I would want to risk on a trade, but nonetheless, something that you can definitely take advantage of. SLCA, trending higher. It's got a little bit of a opportunity here if it can break above 2408. So that's a little ways off, but you can see the volume has picked up in recent weeks, and that's a good sign. BLC, we're going to skip over that one. VIP, we missed that one today when it gapped up through our entry price. GPK, though, not a huge fan of this stock, but it is setting up nicely. It's got some resistance in the 757 to 760 area. So if you were to try and get in at 749, you might be running into some immediate resistance. But 759, though, if it does clear that price level, that might be a good one to jump into. And also notice the volume that's accompanying recent days. I like this TDW. Just, you know, it's a very clean chart. You know, if it breaks above you know, 51, I think this sucker could be, you know, off to the races. So I think for a stop on this one, I'd probably just put it below 49.80. So maybe take a 2% stop loss on this one. Already talk about BWLD, and these gold stocks are just not playing friendly. SRPT, we got out of this one last week for almost 7%. I wouldn't rule out getting back in it if it can maybe pull back to that $34 range. So far, that's not happening. BSX, that's going to need a pullback before we can get into it. PLL could roll over, could go higher. I'm not quite sure yet. DISCK, we've already talked about. Soda. WDAY, though, there's definitely some potential here if it can break above the highs of the day. Let's say if it gets up to 62.47, I could see why you'd want to get a long position going there, and then simply just put the stop loss either if you want a wide stop loss, go at 59.74, or the second one of my choosing, probably the one I would take, is the 60.77 stop loss. And that's going to do it for today. If you guys have any questions, I'll be in the splash zone the remainder of the day, or you can just hit me at Ryan Mallory, or just Ryan at shareplanner.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook, facebook.com/shareplanner, or you can follow me on Twitter at shareplanner. Or, you know, if you're watching this video, you can obviously subscribe to us on YouTube. So, y'all take care and have a blessed day, and we'll keep going at these markets here and hopefully finish out the week in positive territory. Take care.